For a lot of Canadians, home isn't just where you live, it is likely also your biggest asset and your largest expense, and it will be one of the most emotional decisions that you're going to have to make in retirement. Do you stay where you are and age in place? Do you downsize? Do you perhaps rent instead of own? Can your home actually help your retirement? These are not easy questions, and yet they show up in nearly every single retiree's life at some point. So in this episode, I'm going to tackle the big question of housing. This is episode 8 of our 12-part series, second act, and today I'm going to explore how to make smarter, more intentional housing decisions as you move through retirement. I will break down the numbers, the trade-offs, the emotional weight of the decisions that you're going to have to make. A big thank you to Harvest ETFs for supporting this entire series. More on them a little bit later in this episode. Housing is expensive. And for a lot of Canadians, housing can eat up 30%, up to 50% perhaps of their monthly budget. And yes, that's true even in retirement. And yet today, your home is likely your biggest store of equity. So the big question becomes, how do you manage that balance? You need a place to live. You also need to make sure that it is the right place for your health, for your lifestyle, and for your financial plan. So that might mean downsizing, renting, maybe tapping into home equity, or simply aging in place, possibly with some modifications. There is no one size fits all, but not deciding is still a decision and is often not the best one. Let's start by looking at some of the financial implications that might play into the ultimate decision as to where you're going to live in retirement. Number one is liquidity. And owning your home, that can give you a deep sense of security, but in retirement, liquidity might matter just as much. It's one thing to have $500,000 or $1 million or even more in equity, but it's an entirely different thing to be able to access that money when you need it. Remember, your home is not a bank. You can't just go and withdraw $500 a month or whatever that number is to top up your travel budget or to cover rising costs such as groceries. The value of your home looks great on paper perhaps, but that equity is tied up unless you choose to downsize, sell it, or access it through a financial product like a reverse mortgage or a home equity line of credit. None of those are simple decisions, but they might be necessary if your other income sources are limited. Liquidity, that gives you options, and in retirement, options offer more flexibility, more freedom, and more peace of mind. Ask yourself, if you needed to access $50,000 in the next 12 months, could your house help or could it hinder? Secondly here, monthly costs. Many people assume that once your mortgage is gone, housing becomes sort of the cheaper option. Rarely though, that's the case. Even if you own your home outright, you still face ongoing costs that can add up pretty quickly. Things like property taxes, they can easily be many thousands of dollars, especially in many urban centers. Condo fees, that could be applicable. That might range from $300 to $1,000 a month, especially in some older or downtown buildings. Utilities, things like home insurance, basic maintenance, repairs, roof replacement, furnace, they can turn that debt-free home into a monthly drain. And these will come only if you own. If you're renting, you need to factor in things like rent increases, insurance, possibly higher travel or parking costs if you moved into a denser area. The key here is clarity. Get a realistic picture of your all-in housing costs, not just the absence of a mortgage payment. Then compare that to your monthly income and see if it is sustainable, not just today, but 5, 10, or 15 years down the road. The third item is flexibility. One of the most often overlooked elements of home ownership is how it affects your mobility. Owning a home can be grounding in a good way. It can also, to some people, though, feel like an anchor. For example, if your adult children move away, or if you want to spend more time traveling, your house may start to feel more like a burden than a base. Also think of health issues, which might mean that stairs become a challenge, or maybe a big yard, 3 bedrooms doesn't fit your lifestyle anymore. So downsizing, renting, or moving into a more walkable or low maintenance space, that can help open up opportunities you may not have thought to up until this point. No doubt here, that change can be very hard, especially when there is an emotional attachment to a home full of memories. So while owning does offer stability, it's worth asking these questions. Does my current home still fit my future life? What would give me more freedom, not just financially, but physically and emotionally? You do not want to wait for a crisis to force this decision. Consider now what flexibility looks like to you and whether your housing situation supports or limits that. Your principal residence, that is one of the best assets in Canada that is fully exempt from capital gains tax when you sell it. But things can get a bit murky if, for example, you have used part of it as a rental suite, or if you own a second property like a cottage, perhaps a U.S. vacation home. And in cases like this, capital gains can apply. They can be significant, potentially triggering clawbacks or tax liabilities for your estate. And that is why it's critical to understand now how your home fits into your broader tax strategy. If we look at it from the estate side, clarity matters even more. If you plan to pass your home down to your children or your loved ones, have you thought about the following questions? Who will receive it? And are they aligned on that plan? Will it need to be sold and proceeds divided among multiple beneficiaries? Is there a will in place, or could your estate be subject to delays and disputes? And don't think this is only for rich people. Even for modest estates, real estate is often the most complicated piece of the puzzle and the most emotional. So some proactive planning today can spare your family confusion, conflict, and unexpected tax bills later. The classic question in this area is, should I downsize? And the answer, it depends. You might want to consider downsizing if you have unused space, the upkeep is draining your energy, you want to free up some free cash flow to improve your quality of life, or you're spending more time managing your home than actually enjoying it. But downsizing isn't always the right move, of course. Smaller doesn't mean cheaper. It's especially if you're moving into a hot real estate market. Condos do come with fees and they come with rules. The emotional toll of leaving your family home or even your neighborhood, that can be bigger than expected. If you are considering downsizing, I would recommend that you do a budget exercise. Price out the selling costs, the moving fees, the taxes, and what your new monthly cost would be. This takes me right back to the fact that downsizing is not just a financial decision, it's a lifestyle one. In just a moment here, I'm going to have a look at some of the options that you have for unlocking home equity through either a home equity line of credit or a reverse mortgage. The goal there is generally the same: to create dependable income in retirement. And that's why I just want to take a moment here and thank Harvest ETFs for supporting this entire Second Act series, and look at one option that you may not have considered. The Harvest Equal Weight Global Utilities Income ETF, ticker is HUTL, focuses on large cap global utility companies. And these are essential services that we all rely on every single day: electricity, water, natural gas, pipelines. And because the demand for these services stays so steady, utilities do offer a natural base of stability. HUTL in this case, they then add to that by adding an active covered call strategy, which is designed to generate reliable monthly income while helping reduce volatility. It's also globally diversified, so that it helps manage geographic and regulatory risks. Plus, we can't forget about the growth potential. AI is expanding, energy demand is skyrocketing, and generative AI tools like ChatGPT use far more electricity than traditional searches. Utilities will be the key to powering that future. And on the note of reliability, HUTL has never cut a distribution. They've only raised it, in fact, and it may be worth a look if you're looking to build more dependable income into your retirement plan. You can learn more at harvestetfs.com. I will put a link in the video description. I'm also going to include a link for a very instructive article that goes more into detail on how the utility sector offers critical services that will literally be powering our future. Again, thank you so much to Harvest ETFs for your support for this very important series. Okay, what if you want to stay in your home, but you still need to generate income? The good news is that there are options that will let you tap into the value of your home without having to sell it outright. Each of these options, though, comes with pros, cons, some caveats, so I want to walk you through them one at a time. Starting with the home equity line of credit, HELOC. A HELOC lets Canadian homeowners borrow against their home's value, usually at a variable interest rate. It works similar to a credit card. You're approved for a limit. You only pay interest on what you use. So this can be a very flexible tool in retirement. It can cover things like renovations, emergencies, smoothing out cash flow. But you have to remember, it is still debt. You do have to make regular interest payments, and the principal, that remains until you choose to repay it or sell your home. Keep in mind that rising rates can increase costs, and access is easier to secure before retirement while your income is still strong. A HELOC, this works best for retirees who have reliable income, strong credit, and a plan to manage repayment without straining your long-term security. And number 2 are reverse mortgages. For Canadians 55 and older, a reverse mortgage can provide up to 55% of your home equity without monthly payments. Instead, in this case, the loan is repaid when you sell, when you move out permanently, or when you pass away. The appeal here, pretty simple. You get cash without the cash flow pressure, and you get to stay in your home. But the interest does compound over time, and that shrinks the equity and your estate, and the rates are typically higher than what you would find in a home equity line of credit. Also, the funds are not taxable, but they may affect income-tested benefits like the guaranteed income security. These are not for everyone, but reverse mortgages can be a bit of a lifeline for those who are house rich but income poor, but they require some careful planning to fit into a broader retirement strategy. Now, third here is a rental suite or a roommate. And one of the most creative and becoming more and more popular strategies is to turn part of your home into an income stream. This could be a basement suite, a converted garage, possibly even renting out a spare room on a short-term basis or a long-term basis if it suits your needs. For some retirees, this does provide not only added income, but also a sense of companionship, some purpose, and routine if you're the type of person who enjoys having other people around. Others do see it as a practical way to help with rising living costs without touching their investment portfolio. However, before you jump in here, you need to consider the full picture. There are zoning bylaws, there are local regulations that might restrict what you can do. Rental income must be reported to the Canada Revenue Agency. That may affect your taxes. Also, creating a legal secondary suite might involve some renovation costs and some permits. If you later sell the property, capital gain taxes could apply to the rental portion. Still, for those who are comfortable sharing their space or who have unused areas in your home, it's a strategy you might consider exploring. None of these solutions obviously are a one-size-fits-all, but each of them offers their own sort of way to tap into your biggest asset, your home, without walking away from it. The key, as in all of these things, is to explore your options while you're still financially stable and clear-headed. As part of your planning, know what is possible, weigh the trade-offs, and make the decision that best supports your retirement lifestyle and long-term goals. This next topic can be a tough one because there's a lot of emotion when we talk about owning versus renting. And a lot of people see renting as simply throwing away your money. But in retirement, that is not always true. It can make sense to rent if you want predictable expenses, you don't want to deal with maintenance or repairs, you value the flexibility and the freedom to relocate. Now, owning may be better if you place a higher value on stability, if you've got your mortgage paid off, or you want to leave your property to your heirs. I really believe in a case like this, there is no right or wrong answer. It's about what makes most sense for your life today. And as I've said throughout this series, retirement is a new chapter. It is your second act. So your housing strategy here should reflect that as well. This discussion would not be complete without looking at the emotional side. Your home typically is full of good memories, and letting go, even the idea of letting go of home ownership, can feel like you're losing part of who you are, part of yourself. And if your health or your mobility starts to shift, commonly as we age, then housing changes may feel even more overwhelming. But here is the truth. The sooner you start thinking about it, the more control that you're going to have. You don't need to rush, but you do need to plan. So let's recap things here. When you're making this important housing decision, get clear on your current housing costs. That will help. Decide whether your current setup still fits your lifestyle. Explore downsizing, renting, or unlocking equity if needed, and make plans before a crisis forces your hand. Now, to help you with this, I have put together a housing decision checklist. You can scan the QR code on your screen or download it via the link in the video description. In our next episode, I'm going to discuss estate planning. And this is a part of retirement that no one really likes to talk about, but everybody needs to, because the truth is that without a clear plan, your hard-earned wealth might not go where you want it to. I will walk you through the essentials, wills, powers of attorney, tax strategies, and I'll share how to avoid the common mistakes that so many people make that can leave your family with stress, conflict, and unnecessary costs. Estate planning, this is about making sure that your legacy is protected. Now, if this episode helped you, please hit subscribe, maybe share it with a friend or a family member who is thinking through their own housing decisions. As always, I will say thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next episode.